Ganpati Bappa Morya. There's these days in the year where the overall vibe just feels a little more elevated.
So he's the god who connects the physical world.
A Sanatani deity with the head of an animal. So this could be Hanumanji, Narsim or Ganpati Bhagwan. They're fast responding deities.
So Ganpati, even in Tantra, is known as the guardian of the Mooladhara chakra. And what do we want to rise through the chakras? That's Shakti. Brihad Samhita actually mentions instead of the modaks, Ganpati is supposed to be having a radish in his hand. And Ganpati worshipped in Japan and he's called Kangiten. And interestingly, the Japanese version still holds a radish.
Wow. I sincerely hope that we as Indians move towards clay idols once again, especially when it comes to festivals.
A scientist in ancient India called Varaha Mihira, when he describes Ganpati, how the idol of Ganpati should be created, and he says that in the Purans, they mention his wives. They come together with Ganesh and they give rise to two sons, Kshem and Labh. Kshem is also called Shubh.
Shubh Labh.
Yes.
Wow. You have a phase in the city where you are connected to Ganpati at some point. If you're watching this podcast, find someone who's kept the idol at their house and genuinely try going for the aartis. When I experienced that puja, I cried, my head got shaken up, my heart got shaken up, and that's when I really realized the essence of Ganesh Chaturthi. The All-Star Dr. Vineet Aggarwal returns once again on TRS for this special on Deva Shri Ganesha, because this is our Ganesh Chaturthi special and this particular guest has always given us blockbuster episodes. It's a quick 101 on Ganesh Ji in today's special episode of the Ranveer Show. Ganpati Bappa Morya. So happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all the viewers from Dr. Vineet and myself. Honestly, for me, when you grow up in Mumbai, there always will be an element of Ganpati in your life.
Definitely.
Whether you like it or not. Yes. You moved into Mumbai at age 18, right?
Yeah.
Was Ganesh Chaturthi and Ganpati Utsav kind of like a new experience for you?
You know, I was in a hostel. And the first time I heard these amazing sounds coming out of, almost EDM music, and from the street. And I'm like, what the hell is happening here? And I just ran out with a couple of my friends and we saw this amazing Ganpati idol being taken for Visarjan. That was the last day. And it was so beautiful, so immersive and so holistic, all your senses are occupied. You're looking at this beautiful divine form of the deity. There's amazing music, there's bonhomie, there's, people with positive vibes all around you and you're dancing your heart out. And I think that was my first introduction to the Ganpati festival.
Yeah. Through the show, through all the tantrics we've had on, I've learned this one secret about the world of Tantra, which is that if you see a Sanatani deity with the head of an animal, so this could be Hanumanji, Narsim or Ganpati Bhagwan, they're fast responding deities. They come down very fast to come and help you. This is what you feel when you grow up in this city. You have a phase in the city where you are connected to Ganpati at some point. You'll just go and sit in one of those mandals, just look at the idol, have your own conversation. It's a very personalized festival in my eyes.
Yes. I think it's personalized as well as, a community building activity. Because the first time I saw here, and, I am from Chandigarh. So there, we've always grown up seeing the biggest crowds that I've seen probably was at the Dashera Mela. When the Ravan is burnt, Ravan effigies are burnt and they're huge effigies. That was where you'd see the maximum number of people getting together. But, what I remember is that, the moment the effigy is burnt, everybody just starts running away. Because, then it's gonna be chaotic, Here, it was the other way around. Everybody's moving into the crowd. So that was the first experience I had of feeling safe in a crowd, because it was a crowd of devotees. It was a crowd of people who had come to bid farewell to the favorite god, and everybody was in that same zone. It is so beautiful, just to see, and people from all backgrounds. It's not just the Maharashtrian families that are doing it here in Mumbai, right? I mean, it's people from all different castes or religions, or I've seen multiple other communities doing it as well. And you can go and stand and join any of those people, join the arti. They'll give you the prasad. There's no differentiation that you feel being an outsider. And I think that is the most beautiful aspect of this. It can be personalized. Yes, in my heart I'm thinking of the deity, but I'm also a part of this bigger community. The way volunteers organize the traffic, because of course it's too much for the police to handle. There's all these, what we call in Punjabi, chabil, where you have these people giving water and vada paos for the pilgrims who are walking in. So all that happens all through volunteers, all through individual efforts coming together to make an experience which is enjoyable for the entire community. I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Vineet, I think it's time we start learning about the deity.
Sure. So Ganesh, for the people who may not be very well versed in the folklore or in the backstories, Ganpati is the son of Lord Shiv and Parvati, Shakti, and there's a very beautiful story which narrates the creation of Ganesh. So to begin with, there's of course Shivji is there and Parvati is there, and they're having a very happy married life. So Parvati once goes into her chambers, and she decides to take a bath, and she asks Nandi to be the guard there, at the door, and she says, don't allow anybody to come inside. It could be anybody, just don't allow anyone inside. I want my privacy. And Nandi says, okay. And Nandi's standing there, and within a few moments, it's Shiva who comes inside. And how can Nandi stop Shiva from getting into his own home? He doesn't even dare, to stop or even think of stopping him. And Shiva just walks in, marches in, and Parvati's like, how are you inside? I asked Nandi to stop anybody who's coming inside. I wanted my privacy. And she was like, but this is my home, right? Why would Nandi stop me? And that actually triggers a train of thought in Parvati and her friends. So there's Jaya, Vijaya, etc. There's all her close friends, associates, and they are having a conversation. So it's a very slice of life conversation that they're having. They're like, there's so many ganas around, but none of them is our own. So if you see even Nandi, who really worships you, even he couldn't stop Shiva. He couldn't follow your order. He couldn't follow your directive, right? So we should ideally have a gun of our own.
What's a gun?
A gun is, they're the associates of Lord Shiv. It comes from Ganit, or Ganit comes from Gan. Gan means something which is countable. So they are innumerable. There's hundreds and thousands of ganas. Okay, so a gun is the associate of Lord Shiv. So Parvati decides to create a gun. And from all the, unguents, the emollients she applies on her body, the sandalwood, etc. So she decides to create a doll out of it. And this boy, a small boy, she puts life into it because she's Shakti. And this child is given the task of guarding her chamber. So Ganpati, even in Tantra, is known as the guardian of the Mooladhara chakra. Right? So he's the guardian of the first chakra, the base chakra. And what is inside those chakras? What do we want to rise through the chakras? That's Shakti. That's the Kundalini, right? So multiple levels of symbolism, which you find in this story. So Ganpati is standing there, and same order is given. And Parvati says that no, do not allow anyone to come inside. Now here, the child has an advantage. He does not know anyone except for Parvati. He knows that this is my creator, this is my mother, and I have to follow her order. So there's absolutely no confusions in his mind. But Lord Shiv, he decides to enter. And this child stops him. And he says that I have my orders and no one is allowed to go in. And Lord Shiv is like, this is my house. Who are you? You are a stranger. In fact, this is my property. How are you here? And there's an argument that happens. Now, Lord Shiv, he decides to give his ganas a chance to persuade the kid. And if you read the Shiv Puran, there is a lot of reading in between the lines that you need to do. So Lord Shiv is actually thinking that the ganas have become too powerful. And their pride is too much to handle right now. Maybe this is a chance for them to learn a lesson. So he goes back and he sends his ganas to talk to the boy. Now the boy is being pressurized by the ganas to let Lord Shiv pass. And the child actually makes a mockery of them, and he says that you guys are like sturdy, well built, like wrestlers, and I'm a kid, and you're threatening me, right? So if you really want to do it, just come and fight with me. And he's very confident because he has the support of his mother. And the Ganas are perplexed. So they decide to go back to Lord Shiv before taking any action. And, he tells them that, there's no use of talking. When you have to show your might, you have to show it. You do it. And the Ganas come and they fight with the boy. And the boy easily defeats them. Because he's the child of Shakti. Imagine, he's the origin of this universe, the Urja, the Shakti, the power that runs within each of us. She has created that boy. He's very powerful. And the Ganas are defeated and they run back to Lord Shiv. So Lord Shiv says, okay, this lesson has been taught. Now let us see what the Devas have to do. So the gods are invited to try their hand at, persuading the child. So Lord Brahma comes as a rishi. He tries to go and speak to the kid. The kid just jumps on him and pounces on him. So he also goes back. The other gods come. There's a huge fight, actually, that is described in the Shiv Puran. And now Parvati gets to know what's happening outside. And she's livid that, all of these people, they are trying to pressurize a small boy, into submission. So Parvati sends a message to the boy that whatever happens, you have to stand your ground. Now, at various levels, if you start analyzing what is happening, you see there's a clash of egos here. There's a clash of the male ego, who's the owner of the house. And he says that this is my house. This has been created by me, for me, and I own it. So I have complete right over it. Wherever I want to go, I can. And there's the female ego who says that whatever it is, this is my part of the house. This is where I am. I need my privacy here. You cannot enter without my permission. And you see so many such arguments happen, in everyday life also. In everyday life of ordinary couples, there's small arguments, but these ego issues, they take center stage. Now, the Ganas, they have been defeated. The Devas have been defeated. Parvati decides to help the kid. Now, all these big gods are coming. Kartikeya is coming. Lord Vishnu is coming. So, Parvati decides to create two goddesses to help the child. The child is surrounded by an army of Devas and Ganas. And all these people are throwing weapons at him, firing at him from all angles. And there's two goddesses now. There's Chandika and there's Kali. So, both of them are standing right next to the kid. So Kali is swallowing all the weapons that are being thrown at the kid. And Chandika is actually releasing electric current into the army around. So, sort of paralyzing them. Interestingly, because of this, there's a stalemate. And now when Lord Vishnu is coming, so these goddesses enter the body of the kid to give him more strength, more power. So even Lord Vishnu cannot defeat this child. So there's a stalemate. And ultimately, Lord Shiv has to step in and he comes right in front of the kid and he warns him again, nothing doing. The kid is not to be dismissed. So he actually throws his axe or something, at Lord Shiv's forehead. And this really enrages him. And he uses his trident and beheads the kid. Now there's a jubilation outside, there's a party, everybody's happy that finally the adamant kid has been silenced. And inside it's the opposite. They realize that the one Gan, who was their own, who was standing up for their right to have their own space, has been destroyed by all the men outside, right? And all the women who are inside. So Parvati, again, in a fit of rage, she creates these Matrika goddesses. And these goddesses are ordered to destroy the entire creation. So they're like, scary looking, goddesses, and who are really munching up the universe. They're putting all these ganas and gods into their mouths and swallowing them, and they're destroying the entire creation. That's when, the devas and ganas, they again run to Shiv for help. And Lord Shiv then again comes and he decides to have a truce. But he realizes that, now that he has beheaded the kid, there has to be something which needs to be done for that. But he comes and he apologizes. And in all this, if you read between the lines in the Shiv Puran, you realize that every time the thoughts that Lord Shiv is having are only about, the lessons that are being taught to different sets of people. And Parvati, she says that I will not stop these goddesses till my child is revived. So you have to find a way. Now, here there are a couple of different versions. So in the Shiv Puran, Lord Shiv asks the gods to go and get the head of any animal who's sleeping with its head to the north. So in Hindu tradition, generally you don't sleep with your head to the north. And the first animal that they find who slept like that is an elephant. There's another version in the Skanda Puran. So this I'm talking about the Shiv Puran. In the Skanda Puran, the version says that there was a demon called Gajasur who was elephant headed. And right at that time, Lord Shiv spots this demon and he beheads him and he attaches that head. There's another version in the Brahma Vivarta Puran where, the head of the elephant is that of Airavat. So you see some of the idols, and Airavat is the white elephant of Indra. So in some of the idols, you would see a white elephant head instead of the usual color that you see. So multiple stories. And the bottom line is that an elephant head is attached to the body because, again, I think in Brahma Vivarta Puran, it is said that the original head, it turned into ashes. So that could not have been replaced. So they had to find something else, another replacement, which was an elephant head. There's multiple layers of symbolism to the elephant head, which we'll come to later. But for now, the child has been revived. And to appease Parvati, Lord Shiv says that Parvati actually demands that, because he has defeated the Ganas, he's defeated the Devas, he's superior to everyone, right? All of you need to worship him. And all of them, including Brahma, Vishnu and Shiv, they do worship Ganpati then. And Lord Shiv blesses him to be the Pratham Pujya. He will be the first one to be worshipped in any task by anyone. So whether it is the gods, the demons, the humans, whoever, everybody needs to worship Ganpati before beginning something new.
So why we begin pujas with Ganpati prayers usually.
Yes.
I had a slightly chakra-oriented viewpoint when it came to this logic as well. So in certain meditations that were taught in the world of Kriya, one of those is related to your lowest chakra. Where you just focus on feeling your lowest chakra and visualizing that a stream of light is flowing through your body and going deep into the ground and playing with the rocks inside the earth. And if you truly immerse yourself in that meditation, you genuinely feel calming sensations in your hips.
Right.
But over the years of studying Kriya and studying chakras, I came across this aspect of Ganpati being the lord of the lowest chakra.
Right.
I wonder if the two things are linked in terms of when you pray to Ganpati, obviously your lowest chakra is getting a little more stabilized. And through that stabilization of your lowest chakra, you're able to focus on even deeper pujas.
Yes. And Ganpati, he's, if you see his symbolism, he is a deity who loves indulging in the senses, right? He's pot-bellied, right? He's probably the only deity you'll see who is not like fit. He's cute, he's chubby, and he loves to eat. He's always holding a plate of modaks or laddus, right? So he's always ready to dig in. So he's the deity, he's the god who connects the physical world, the senses, whatever the senses can experience, he enjoys all that. And still, he's connected to the spiritual world. So he is the perfect example for us, for humans. And he shows us how, even when you're surrounded by the material universe, around your material realm, material creation, you can still be connected to spirituality. So a lot of symbolism from Ganpati's depiction actually comes into play. He has these big ears, like again the elephant head. It is believed that it shows that you must take a lot of inputs, you must take a lot of insights from others. You should hear more. He has small eyes. Of course, elephant eyes are smaller compared to the face size. The small eyes actually are supposed to concentrate, right? There's a small mouth. Elephant mouth is not that big, so you talk less, right? The trunk, which actually shows dexterity, it shows adaptability. The trunk can be used for multiple things. So multiple ways the depiction shows, and actually scientifically, if you see, the elephants are considered to have a very strong memory, and it is said that elephants never forget. They have huge brain sizes, and that is why Ganesh is called the god of wisdom. The elephant head actually symbolizes wisdom. In the Ganesh Puran, it is actually said that the first word of Rig Ved represents Ganpati, and that, of course, is Om. So the shape of the elephant head actually is like the Om, Omkar. So multiple levels. Ganpati teaches us that, he is the god of beginnings, he's the god of auspiciousness, he's associated with wisdom, the kind of things he holds in his hands. So he has an axe, which is supposed to cut the bondages of material life. He has a noose in his hand, which, shows us the bindings that we are trapped in. Of course, he has the modaks, which shows us the material senses. He sometimes has a lotus in his hand, which of course represents spiritual wisdom. And interestingly, if you go to historical depictions of Ganpati, there was a scientist in ancient India called Varaha Mihira. And Varaha Mihira, he was somewhere in the 5th century, I presume. I think 5th or 6th century, if I'm not mistaken. And he has written this encyclopedic work, which is called the Brihat Samhita. So Brihat means vast or expansive, and Samhita is a collection. So it's literally an encyclopedia of various things. So there's astrology in it, there's so many things, but amongst that is also the depiction of gods. And in that depiction, when he describes Ganpati, how Ganpati should be created, the idol of Ganpati should be created. Of course, those days they did not have POP molds. But
thank God for
that. But they did have clay molds, but not in those times. Even in earlier times, I'll come to that. But so this depiction in Brihat Samhita, it actually mentions Ganpati to be holding a radish. So instead of the modaks or the laddus, Ganpati is supposed to be having a radish in his hand. So it is either a radish or a beetroot. Because what it is written in the Sanskrit, it mentions Moola Kandam. Kanda is root. That's where Kanda comes from, actually. So Moola Kandam, which is Mooli, and Sunil Dal Kandam. So Sunil is deep, dark color, which is almost the color of a beetroot. Dal, so is a group. So generally you hold beetroots in a group, right? So Sunil Dal Kandam. So that's the interesting depiction that is mentioned by Varaha Mihir. So the molds reminded me of, one of the oldest depictions of Ganesha which has been discovered. And I think that again holds a radish in his hand. And these are the molds that were discovered in Bhirrana, or Bhirdana it's called. This is a place in Haryana which has the oldest sites of Indus Valley civilization. So a lot of people know about Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, but we are not, it hasn't come down in our school books yet. But Rakhigadi and Bhirdana, these are two of the oldest places and the biggest places discovered in India. And I think Rakhigadi is the biggest and Bhirdana is the oldest. So there are excavations that have revealed dates of roughly 9,500 years ago.
Wow.
So about 7,500 BC from Bhirdana. And Birdana, there are molds that have been discovered. The small blocks with Ganpati molds, so they were probably used in a similar way like the POP casts are used today. They're small and they were probably built of clay, so more eco-friendly.
Wow. Yeah. I sincerely hope that we as Indians move towards clay idols once again, especially when it comes to festivals. It's not just the Ganesh Chaturthi festival. When people get Gauris home as well.
Yeah.
That's a big part of Koli culture. It's a big part of Maharashtrian culture.
Right.
Is it present? It is present outside of Maharashtra as well, right?
Not really. Not really.
Really?
If you actually see, it is more of a localized phenomena. So the entire festival of Ganesh Chaturthi, of course, it was popular earlier during Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj's time. But it kind of fizzled out and it became from a community festival, it became a localized festival where individual families were celebrating it. But again, it was revived by Lokmanya Tilak, by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. And there was political reasons for it. So it's very interesting how a festival can become a tool to bring people together. And that's exactly what we started with, right? I mean, the feeling that you get during that festival of communities coming together. And that was sort of revived by Lokmanya Tilak. And I think it was in 1893, if I'm not mistaken, when he restarted these celebrations in the sense of a community celebration. So before that, people had Ganpatis at home and they would do Visarjan, etc. And during those times, there was political upheavals happening and the freedom struggle was ongoing. And the Britishers had banned the gathering together of people. And this was one way that Bal Gangadhar Tilak realized that people could come together without them having an objection because it's a festival. It's not a political rally. So it became a way for people to come together once again and, discuss everything, but through the medium of the Ganpati celebration. So this entire festival was it got a second lease of life, I would say, due to Bal Gangadhar Tilak. And that is why it is so big in Mumbai, because he did it in Mumbai and Pune. So that's one of the reasons that it became so big here. But of course, those were clay idols. Those were not these POP, and I don't think POP existed at that time, or probably not rampantly used. But now, of course, we do not. There are, people who are moving towards the eco-friendly versions. There's the, of papier mâché, there are Ganapatis that can be planted in the soil and they can give rise to trees. So there's a lot of initiatives that are being taken. But majorly, if you see the biggest pandals, generally it's POP, which is not that great. So, yeah, I mean, there is a need to modify and move with the times, just as Bal Gangadhar Tilak had done at that time.
What was your understanding of Ganpati when you weren't in Mumbai?
So Ganpati, of course, I knew. I had read all these comics while growing up. I was a big fan of Amar Chitra Kathas. So I had read the story. I was quite fascinated by the story that, there's this just kid, and I myself was a kid. So the kid is so strong that he can defeat the army of Ganas, he can defeat the army of Devas, and he can fight with Lord Shiv himself, right? So I found it a very fascinating tale, a very fascinating story. So Ganesh, of course, this story I knew, and later when I came here and I saw all the festivities and I started going deeper into our scriptures, I also realized that there's a second level of symbolism that comes into play, where you realize that Ganesh is created by Parvati alone, right? And this child, I think it's again in the Skanda Puran that Parvati says when she wants Shiva to revive her son. So she tells her husband that this child was created by me. So it has only the element of Prakriti in it. It does not have consciousness. So you bless him so that he gets that Chetana. So this child is right now Jad. And the Chetan component will come from Lord Shiv.
What is Chetna?
Chetna is consciousness. So Shiv is the soul and Shakti is the Prakriti. So Prakriti, or in simpler terms, if you see the nature around us. I'm not talking about trees and stuff, but if you see plants, if you see mountains, if you see rivers, if you see oceans, they do not have an inherent consciousness, right? They are existing. They are part of Prakriti. But what has consciousness is the living beings, right from plants, of course. But this consciousness can only come when Shiv blesses Prakriti. So again, the union of Shiv and Shakti needs to come for Ganpati to become worshipable. It's only when Lord Shiv joins the head of an elephant to the body that is created by Prakriti and blesses him, revives him, that is when Ganpati becomes worshipable.
Dr. Vineet, it's always so nice talking to you. Like, sometimes when I'm talking to you, I understand why people say things like, oh, we go to sleep listening to you to talk. The thing is with you, I've always tried my best to create short, very digestible episodes, and that's why I think it works as well. So we've almost reached the end of today's short, quick chat.
Right.
But towards the end of this episode, is there anything you want to share about Ganesha with our audiences?
Definitely, there's too many facets, that are related to Ganpati, and one of them, interestingly, is the historical impact of Ganesh in various countries. If you travel to Southeast Asia, as I do generally for my work, you see Ganpati statues everywhere. Everywhere you go, especially in the museums, in the historical buildings, historical places. There's Ganpati worshipped in Japan, and he's called Kangiten. And interestingly, the Japanese version still holds a radish in his hand. He doesn't have laddus in his hand or modaks in his hand. There's also a Roman god called Janus.
Janus, Ganesh.
So Janus, yes, phonetically very similar. And Janus is also considered the god of gateways in the Roman myths. And it's actually the name of the first month of the year, January, comes from Janus.
Wow.
Because he's the god of transitions or beginnings, which is very similar to Ganesh. Again, a point to note here is that the Roman gods are generally the adaptations of the Greek gods, because it was Greek mythology that the Romans kind of appropriated and customized, and they made it their own. So there's Poseidon, there's Hades, and all these. You find all these counterparts, in Greek mythology. Janus has no counterpart in Greek mythology, and it is believed that probably Romans they kind of invented this god after coming in touch or after coming in contact with Indian traders. And they got to know about a god called Ganesh, who's a god of auspicious beginnings. And that is how Janus came into being. Janus, interestingly, has two faces. Again, one is looking to the front and one is looking towards the past. So future and past. Ganpati also has two heads. One after the other, not simultaneously, but he has two heads. Right? Ganesh is associated with the crescent moon. Janus is also associated with the crescent moon. Janus is also associated with money. Ganesh is also associated with money. There's also multiple other aspects of Ganesh, that we can talk about, which is his wives, the Riddhi. And so in Maharashtra, they say Riddhi and Siddhi. In the Purans, they mention Riddhi and Buddhi. So Riddhi is like perfection. Buddhi is your intelligence. So again, you need all these elements to come together for wisdom. Wisdom is not just, having knowledge. That is Vidya. But wisdom is knowing how to use that knowledge. So Riddhi and Buddhi come together with Ganesh, and they give rise to two sons who are called, again, a lot of symbolism here. So they are called Kshem and Labh. Kshem is also called Shubh. So Shubh we know is auspicious or welfare. And Labh is profit. So only when you act with wisdom, with knowledge, with patience, and you analyze all the aspects, only then you can get profit, only then you can get your welfare. And there's multiple stories in Purans. There's a minor Puran called Ganesh Puran.
I'm just mathematicizing what you just said. Perfection plus wisdom, combined with the stability that Ganesh ji brings, I guess, equals Shubh Labh,
Yes,
Which is-
Shubh Labh.
which is prosperity and profit.
Welfare and prosperity. Yes.
Wow.
Profit.
Stunning.
And again, you find that symbolism in Ganesh Puran. There is 8 different incarnations of Ganpati that are mentioned. And if you actually read the stories, you realize that these are very symbolic. You know, they're talking about Ganpati taking 8 different forms to kill 8 different demons. But these demons are actually vices. So, in Western mythology, there's a term called 7 deadly sins. So here we find 8 deadly sins that Ganpati helps to conquer. And how will you conquer those? You know, there's ahankar, ego. There's mad, moha. Mad is pride. Moha is attachment. There's mamta, which means, mindness, that possessiveness. There's matsara, which is envy. There is lobh, which is greed. So all these different asuras, they're called asuras in the story. But these asuras are conquered by Ganesh, who represents wisdom. So it's only through wisdom, through right behavior, through right conduct, through knowledge that you can overpower these. There's no other way. So multiple levels of symbolism that show us that Ganpati is the god of auspicious beginnings. Why? Because of his intellect, because of his wisdom. And that is how we should behave in our life.
Okay. We wish you a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi, ladies
Happy
and
Ganesh
gentlemen.
Chaturthi.
This was the cute bonus episode for the week. Dr. Aggarwal, thank you for one more epic conversation. Any signing off notes?
Enjoy the festivities. It's right here. And, celebrate in an eco-friendly way. I would just say that. And don't miss out on the celebration. Please have an eco-friendly celebration.
My personal message comes from personal experience, which is that on Ganesh Chaturthi, try being a part of a Ganpati Puja. It's a whole other experience. I think I experienced it a little too late in life.
Right.
But before that, Ganesh Chaturthi was just about the community aspect of it.
Yes.
When I experienced that puja, I cried, my head got shaken up, my heart got shaken up. And that's when I really realized the essence of Ganesh Chaturthi.
Yeah.
You'll take it with you for the rest of your life. If you're watching this podcast after Ganesh Chaturthi, find someone who's kept the idol at their house longer than 1.5 days and genuinely try going for one of the aartis, the morning aarti or the evening aarti.
Yes.
That is our signing off notes. Dr. Vineet, thank you once again.
My pleasure.
That was the episode for today, ladies and gentlemen. Always a pleasure speaking to Dr. Vineet. Definitely go check out all the other episodes that we've created with him. Some of these episodes have been recorded 2 to 3 years ago, but they're still as fresh, still as relevant, still as stimulating. That's the magic that certain blessed souls like Dr. Vineet carry through their voice and their words. If you want to check out more of his episodes, we've linked them down below. And until next time, guys, from Ranveer and the team, happy Ganesh Chaturthi. We'll see you very soon.